Hi, and welcome to tonight's episode of the How To series. My name is Michael Audu, and in tonight's episode, I'll be talking about how to leverage debt in your financial journey. It's been a couple of weeks since we last shot any video for the How To series, but now we're back and we're going to take a straight run from now to the end of December 2020. So, in the next 1 or 2 minutes, I'll be sharing to you the exact ideas about how to leverage debt in your financial journey as a person. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. And in today's episode, we're really going to be talking about something that is very tricky because for most people, debt is something that they want to run away from. And it's understandably so because most people's perception of debt is how they can get money to solve their immediate problems as they arrive as they come to them. However, that's not like the best way to consider accessing debt. So what is debt? Debt is anytime you take money or borrow money from an organized institution or from friends, family, or from just anyone who is willing to give you their own resource towards you, right? So debt is borrowed money. Debt is any money you borrow for whatever purpose that you collect it for. It is still called debt. And oftentimes it may come with an interest rate, some amount of money you pay back to the person as extra for the time that the money was with you, especially if you're collecting it for business purpose and stuff like that. Okay. So in Africa, the concept of debt is actually like a bad thing. It's not a thing. It's not a good thing to be associated with debt because most people have had bad debt experience, and there's something they even call shaming in Africa. No, maybe not just Africa, but at least I know in Africa where debtors are followed up and then insulted or how should I say it, degraded in society just so that they feel like paying back their debtors the monies they owe. So some of these kind of cultural issues are the reason why debt is not very very common or very appreciated in Africa. However, things are changing now. We're beginning to see newer apps and fintech in the space and fintech apps in the space, in the lending space, because generally lending always happens. Okay, but tonight's episode is not about debt and whether it is good or bad, but it's more about whether how to leverage it in a good way. Now, there's good debt, there's bad debt, and what I call bad debt is any debt that you take to consume. Whatever debt you take to consume, meaning you're just taking that money because you're trying to solve an immediate problem that does not generate an income, that does not have advantage for you in the future. It's just about solving your problem now. Most times those debts amounts to bad debt. Not always, but most times they amount to the bad debts because you're just eating tomorrow's yam. I remember in secondary school the book we read, it's a book, a poem, Eating Tomorrow's Yam. If we eat it today, what shall we eat tomorrow? Right? So I consider that generally a kind of like a bad debt. Now the way banks see bad debt, good debt is quite different, but as a person collecting the money, that's a bad debt. A good debt is any debt you take that will give you leverage for the future, meaning it will allow you to do something now that will be beneficial or able to create more opportunities to make money in the future, so that the money you've spent today has more or less like a future benefit than its value today, than its ability to solve your problem now. So let's say you're taking debt for educational purpose, and you're taking debt to get a degree, get a certification, get a level of an association or some level of improvement in your value or in your skill or in your capability, meaning because you took that debt and you invested in yourself, in the future, in the next 3-6 months, we're able to see it convert into you either owning a business or you getting promoted at work and all of that. That is good debt. Bad debt never gives you that opportunity. Good debt means you take the money, you invest it into something, whether it's a business, whether it's an education, whether it's for your education, whether it's asset purchase, whether it's for deals. You can take debt and get funding for deals, meaning you find a deal where you're supposed to take 5 million naira to cover up for something, and in the next 2 months, 3 months, once the project is completed, you're going to have 8 million naira in return. Why not? That's the moment you take a debt. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's what makes good debt or bad debt. All right, the second thing that makes good debt or bad debt is the interest rate. And this is one thing that most people don't really consider. Interest rate, how you get your debt and what interest rate you get it, is very, very critical. If you get a debt or a loan for an interest rate of say 60-70% per annum, it's a terrible position to be, because you're most likely going to just work a whole lot of time for that person. I mean, if you borrow 100,000 for instance, and you're going to pay back 160,000, that is largely bad debt, except you have no option, and or except if what you're investing it in can bring back 120%, I do not see reasons why you should jump at such an opportunity. Of course, if it's a short-term loan, let's say we're talking about you're taking 5 million and you're giving back 5% in a month, and you only need the loan for just 1 month, then it makes sense. Maybe you have a deal that will give you 15% in that 1 month. It's worth it. But otherwise, it doesn't make sense, because 5% amount amounts to 60% an annum. But if it's a loan that you plan to repay over the long term, and you take something of up to 60%, you are going to pay a whole lot, and you're going to pay through your nose to get back, except you have something really classic on the back. All right, so that's it about that. You really want to consider two things. One, what is the purpose for you taking the debt? What is the purpose for you taking the debt? If you're taking it for the right purpose, it is good debt. I'll advise you do, against what people will tell you to do. Number two, if you're getting a good interest rate, in fact, if you are getting zero interest rate, there are many ways to get zero interest rate loans. Number one is family and friends, which is why your integrity is very important. If you keep good integrity, you have good loan repayment, good, what do they used to call it, a credit score, right? You'll be able to access much more loans from friends, family, and trusted partners at very, very ridiculous rates. But if you have a terrible track record of paying back debt, you would never get such an opportunity again. So the first places you want to go for debt is your circle, your family, your friends. Those guys can fund you huge amounts of money that you just have to pay back the original sum. That is interest-free debt or interest-free loans. It's something to leverage, especially when you're putting it into something that can bring out more value in the future. So don't think of debt absolutely as a bad thing. So most of the big corporations, companies, they are probably the largest debtors in the world, even in Nigeria. The likes of Dangote, and all of these corporations we see, they run on huge amounts of debts, not because they don't have money, but because they already have assets that are on ground, and they want to be able to liquefy the value of those assets. So they take debts and use it to produce more value and return the money back as the value creating engine is created. Same thing you can do. You can take debts, increase your skill, increase your capability, increase your business abilities to earn your working capital and all of that. Once it begins to grow, you get money, you pay back, and then you are now better off than you started. But be very careful. If you do not understand the dynamics around all of this, please avoid loans by all means. If you do not understand how it's going to be clearly a beneficial move to you, avoid loans. If you know you just want to consume, you want to take loans to go for the next big birthday party, go for the next wedding, go for the next show, travel for the next holiday for no reason, please avoid loans, because they're just going to tie you in a financial mess, more or less. Yeah, they can really tie you down, because when you now need liquidity, you'll be servicing most of your loans that were actually to cap it all. If you now consume high interest loans, you are doomed, which is the trap people are trying to avoid. So I would say, if you have the skill, the knowledge, the understanding of what I'm sharing with you, and it makes absolute sense, and you've done your research, loans, debts, borrowing are great ways to finance your life. It is an economic system in its own self. And most of the most prosperous nations you see in the world run on huge debt financing structures. yeah, it is what it is. So if you really want to compete with for any reason you want to compete with Elon Musk or the Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos, you have to really change your mind about debt and how it works. All right, so I hope this episode has been helpful to you. Two core things: only borrow. The purpose of debt: only borrow to finance value creating activities. And then number two, always look for the lowest interest rates you can find, starting from friends, family that give you at zero, and then move up to maybe banks of industries and all of those kind of financing structures that may give you a single digit loan, and then it keeps going up before you think of commercial banks and all the private lenders. That's how it keeps going higher and higher, depending on how much you need, how soon you need it, and what you need it for. All right, I hope this episode has been good to you, has been great. I hope you've had a good time watching this episode. So until next week, I hope you think through this, do your own research, and see how you can start leveraging debt for your growth. All right, take care and bye-bye.